Yeah. I'm talking to her. We wanted to be able to show you the different dimensions as we move into as we are in the 21st century, of how quilting has transformed itself from out of necessity through a historical past to an art to an enterprise. So this year we decided to come out into the community and to extend what we've been doing on Rice's campus to the larger Houston area. So this is our first time outside of the Rice's campus, and I was able to find some magnificent quilters that
this piece for me was very difficult because I didn't measure. Not at all.
I think that anyone who experiences any kind of culture, there's always a story somewhere. So for me, I'm retired military, and I started my quilting life when I was getting ready to retire. My husband had a couple more years to serve, and I had nothing to do for a whole year. So I was in California. I retired in '91, and so I went to learn how to quilt. I'm born and bred next door to church, you know, kind of thing. So I started with a lot of the church stuff. And it was all about telling stories about what's happening with AME Church, the schools that are dying out, so forth. So a lot of my pieces, if you have any familiarity with AME Church, you know that Richard Allen was the founder, but there were these four men who moved and pushed this expansion during antebellum period, just moved us. So they have to be identified. And you hear Four Horsemen talk about the football players and all of that, but the original are these four men. So I did this for the AME Church, stained glass window kind of thing, you know, so that they could have, and of course the different churches have prints and so forth. So I just kind of wanted the U.S. Army. The first document that she pretended to be William Cathay, so that's the most celebrated one, but there's others. There's people who received awards, and Harry Tubman, of course, was a spy, everybody knew that. So there's just a lot of things, and what we do with this quilt is, as we identify someone that no one knew of, we added in the stripes. So that was it's kind of ongoing. But there were things
about this beautiful quilt. Of course, as most people find out about African American quilting, historically it's the Underground Railroad. Besides for it being a monumental achievement of African Americans liberating themselves from slavery by the Underground Railroad, it's phenomenal that the record that we have of it and exactly how it happened is through quilting. There's a story there about the symbols and how they liberated people and how this was a form of resistance, this beautiful piece of art, these symbols that are here. So I had to include for preservation the foundation. And I saw this quilt in her collection and I nearly died. So I had to have her tell you about it. So everybody, Leslie.
I'm Leslie Abram, and I'm a traditional quilter, so I just do the old-fashioned stuff. This quilt.
Yes, we go.
This quilt came about, through another quilter, Pamela Tilley, was doing an exhibition at the George R. Brown for the International Quilt Festival in 2010, and all of her quilts, many of her quilts was on the Underground Railroad. And I put mine together. Mine is a little different from many of the others. They did just the block. But most of my quilts, every quilt includes a cross. And I wanted the cross to become a focal point, even though this is the log cabin. It's just one block for each one of the stories, but I wanted mine to be a focal point and bringing the cross into it, and so that is why mine's have a big cross in it. And
I believe that everybody is an artist. And I love to paint, to draw, paper casting, and I love recycle. If you give me some paper, some fabric, all are really, like this is a recycled piece, that's a recycled piece. I love working with paper casting. So, but as a child, I've always loved to push myself. And I grew up with my grandmother quilting. And I'm a 6th generation of quilter. Because like I told him, I said, you know, art, I believe anybody can do art. Quilt and draw and do everything, probably better than anybody I've ever met. And so, she was a strong influence in my life. My grandmother who, you know, she pushed us, she taught us, and so that's why I made her.
At any rate, this piece was done between 1996 and 99 by a group of about 20 people at the school and away from the school at the Blue Triangle. Of unity and spirit that represent a group effort. People who know each other and people who don't know that they are working on the same kind of goals. And isn't that what life is like in many instances? First quilt category. I think that sometimes Carrie Buchanan created that category just for me to encourage me to continue to quilt. She was very encouraging. She liked the quilt very much, and it was quite an honor to have that designation. I have the blue ribbon, and one day I'll tell the story. The quilt was called Meadow Wreath, and I've not given it to my daughter yet.